Max, thank you, buddy. Craig is on. Well, he's out. He's been feeling good the last couple of days. Paul Catalina with us as well. Great feature on Jacob Rodriguez. What a story. I saw the video of him. He's a running back at one point with a 98 number on his jersey. How much fun was that doing that article?
Yeah, appreciate it, guys. Got a chance to sit down with Jacob Rodriguez when I visited Lubbock here about a month ago. And, I mean, you just could, he's such a badass on the field, but just couldn't be a nicer guy. And I know he won Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year earlier today. Wrote about kind of his journey, and it's a pretty crazy one if you don't know the backstory. He's a guy from Wichita Falls Rider, really talented quarterback there, and wanted to play quarterback in college, and went to Virginia to play quarterback and to play for Bronco Mendenhall. And they kind of convinced him he could be the next Taysom Hill at quarterback, and played a really funky role there in 21 as a football player on their depth chart, who played receiver and running back and tight end and quarterback and everything. And the coaching staff there leaves. He goes in the portal. Nobody wants him, and he walks on to Texas Tech and learns how to play linebacker, which he never played in high school, and sleeping on the floor of his brother's apartment there in Lubbock, and taking out student loans, and broke, and just trying to make the team. And so pretty amazing what he's done in his time there to turn himself into one of the best players in college football.
Max, this weekend's game does not have the same stakes as some of the other conference championship games. Some of them are rubber stamped in just for being in it. For BYU, they've got to win it. For Tech, they likely don't have to win it, but I bet they don't want to dare the committee or the numbers to put them out. What do you think should be done to measure out these conference championship games so we don't get to this weekend and we have a Big Ten championship game, which I can't wait to see, but ultimately It doesn't matter.
Well, and then you got Duke. I mean, we're putting Duke in the playoff.
Yeah,
what are we going to do?
Yeah. Well, the ACC's got to fix their tiebreaker system because it bit them in the ass.
100%. Did you guys see the report this morning? Pete Thamel, I think others had it, about how Vanderbilt was trying to line up a game.
Yep. We showed it. We mentioned it.
I would, and this, I know that, I fully realize that the Big Ten and other people want to expand the playoff. I'm anti-expanding the playoff. I am pro-expanding this weekend to have games that have been thrown together in the last 7 days. I think that would be fantastic. I think that you've got, obviously you've got 5 or 6 teams right now that feel like, hey, we had the kind of season we feel like we should be in the playoff. I think that'd be tremendous if you've got Vanderbilt and Texas and Miami and all these schools that, Utah that feel like, hey, we're getting jobbed here. Like, I would love to see these things be allowed to get lined up and play at the last minute. And you can say, well, is that unfair to the teams in the conference championship game to give those guys that extra data point? But people would watch it. People like, I don't think it's like that crazy to do it. And we saw in COVID, people lined up games, BYU and Coastal lined up a game at the last minute just because they could. Like, I kind of wish we could expand that a little bit and add to the conference championship games we currently have. But maybe, I don't know if I'm in the minority on that, but I'd kind of love to see it.
Yeah, I would too. What are your thoughts on, we just mentioned Bruce Feldman lost his mind earlier. I loved it. He just said, what in the, and I know that, Dan Wetzel's written about it among others. And we all have said something about it. What are your thoughts? How are they trying to fool us this week, Max, with the college standings?
I would say I am in the camp of like, we don't need the weekly show. Right. And I like, just as a college football fan, I obviously I'm an employee of ESPN and like, I'm not saying it's obviously it's complicated, right? But like, I think that part of it is that you have, and Mac Rhodes obviously was in this role earlier this season. Now Hunter Yurchuk's doing it. Like, you have someone who is trying to answer for what the entire room thinks, and that just doesn't really make a lot of sense. I've done the mock selection. Like, everybody votes what they think, and then it spits out what the results are, and then people treat that like it's the committee trying to make a statement, but ultimately it's just the varied votes of the people in the room. I think part of it is just, this is what the vote turned out, and then we kind of try to give quotes to justify it. that nobody likes. And I think you can just tell that the frustration for all the ones, especially the ones that are out right now, and especially the Miami fans, is at an all-time high. And that is, I think part of it is just here's the vote, and then we have to try to come up with answers to justify it, and justify why these are the 12. But ultimately, that doesn't seem to satisfy anybody.
Yeah, he's got to fill a 20-minute segment, and that's a lot of words. And a lot of times, the answer of this is how it came out that's not good TV, Max. So
and then it's in writing in their policies of like, hey, we start over every week. We start from scratch every week with these rankings. But obviously, that's not what anybody thinks or wants or expects. Like you want there to be consistency from week to week of like they were here and then they won and so now they're here, or they're here and they lost and so now they have to move to here. Obviously we're not ripping this up and starting over every week. So yeah, I don't know. But do you guys think, would people be frustrated if there was just no committee visibility at all and we just got a ranking here on the final Sunday?
I know you work at ESPN. We understand they're making money on that, plus they're promoting the playoff eventually. But I haven't watched that show. I'm not so sure since maybe 2014 when all that went down with Ohio State, TCU, and Baylor, to be honest with you.
Yep.
I know Mac was a part of it. I just had it on the screen to see, and of course that flamed out pretty quickly too. But I hate the show. I hate it.
Max, after that first year, I just kind of realized that because I thought I kind of fell into the trap of like, oh, week to week, they're kind of guiding us through. Like this is really transparent. And then it turned out that, it doesn't really matter until the last week anyway. And then certainly after 2023, I don't want to reinvigorate my trauma. So I just don't. Yeah. And I'd rather just wait to the end and hear or every week, just put out the poll. That's fine. We've done that forever. Here's the poll. Here's the one that matters. All right, let's do that. And we can argue over it as the college football world. And then when we get to the end, then they can do a show and they can break some things down and say, this is what the numbers say. Here are our processes. But I think they've been too secretive of it, as if it's some sort of like black bag CIA mission. And that's not what it should be.
But then it's also like you kind of, if you only had a one mid-season or whatever, like, hey, start of November, here's the playoff ranking. And then we have a whole gap, and then after the conference championship games, here's the playoff rankings. I think people would be pretty upset about, hey, well, how much does this align with the AP poll? How much do they get right or wrong? So it's like in some ways you have to kind of hold the public's hand week to week and say, here's how we're going to end up here. But obviously people are not very happy with the weekly check-ins on that either.
Max, I know you got to go. I saw that the teams that added the most experience to their roster from the portal, Oregon, Indiana, Arizona, and UVA all had really good seasons. Not just the numbers, but the experience factor as much as anything.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's, and there's always going to be your outliers the other way of like, oh, wow, well, they spent all this money in this portal class and bombed. And obviously LSU, I think we were really talking about in January, that LSU and Texas Tech had the best portal classes, and obviously LSU botched it, right? So, like, not that they took horrible players, but it didn't all come together the way they thought. So, I think it's a credit to those coaching staffs. As much as Indiana and Texas Tech get a ton of attention, and deservedly so, for nailing it in the portal, I think Virginia and Arizona and Houston, I think there's a few programs you can point to right now and say, man, that personnel staff did a pretty amazing job of getting what they needed to be successful this year. And I think that's just the name of the game now, as the high school signing day is maybe less important as it used to be. And we ramp up to another crazy portal period here where anybody could be a free agent again. I just wanted to bring some attention to the programs that did a great job of just picking experienced guys and trusting that they could coach them up to make that translate at their place.
Thank you, buddy. Appreciate it when we get your time, Max.
Thanks,
have a
guys.
great week. That's Max Olson with us, ESPN.